Goliath is a mini Intamin hypercoaster at Walibi Holland. I played a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 growing up, specifically the Six Flags Holland scenario featuring this ride, so it was always on my bucket list. While it doesn't quite reach the 200-foot barrier, this coaster does bear a lot of similarities to Intamin's original hypercoaster layout and ride of steel. Find out why in this review. Back when this Dutch park was owned by Six Flags, they added the tallest, fastest, and longest roller coaster in the Benelux for the 2002 season. While those records have since been broken by another ride in the Walibi chain in Conda, Goliath still has quite the presence. You can see very little of this coaster from within the park itself. You just see this ride's 154-foot or 47-meter tall lift hill as you approach the ride, plus the final bunny hills. But this isn't the first time you'll see Goliath. Much of the ride's layout takes place adjacent to the roadway into the park. The drop in the distance plus the giant S-hills and helixes above the water really draw you in. It's a brilliant placement since it gets guests hyped for their day. The ride originally featured a weird paint scheme. You had Kelly green track and pink supports. It was iconic, but it was repainted during the 2016-2017 off-season. Now it sort of looks like a baby Millennium Force with a royal blue track, but it does have black supports and trains to differentiate itself. Six Flags loves the name Goliath. They've used it 7 times. However, this was only the second time they used the name, and it honestly made sense for a record-breaking ride like this. I also like the ride's entry plaza with the giant logo sign and the large lift hill looming in the distance. Don't expect any theming though. This is an attraction where the size and elements do the talking. It does require a bit of a hike to reach this ride's plaza though. It's in the very back of the park, accessible only by a long dead-end pathway. It looks like the park's next addition will be added back here to give Goliath some company at least. While the location is a bit annoying, it does have the advantage of making the ride a walk-on for the early part of the day because most people take a little bit of time to get back there. And by midday, it'll usually have one of the longest lines in the park. The ride can run 2 trains. Each has 8 cars seating 4 riders in rows of 2. However, the ride has run 1 train in both my visits, likely due to the weather. Both my visits to Walibi Holland have occurred on extremely rainy days. After a train is stopped on the brake run, a rubber drive tire needs to push it back into the station. When this wheel gets slippery, it can struggle to move the train. I've seen this issue countless times on Six Flags New England Superman on rainy days as well. To prevent downtime, Walibi Holland only runs 1 train in these conditions to minimize the time the train is parked. Goliath runs the original style Intamin hyper trains. You have seatbelts plus those glorious T-bar restraints. These lap bars are fantastic. I do prefer the newer Intamin lap bars, but these are still very good. Their minimal profile leaves you very exposed, and they give you plenty of room to experience the airtime. I imagine these restraints are not very accommodating to larger guests based on what I've seen at other parks with T-bar restraints, but I didn't see too many people struggling at Walibi. As for which seat you want, I definitely recommend the back car in this one. While you'll feel the full force of the 66 mph or 106 km/h top speed in that front row, the back is the superior airtime. And that's the main reason I want to ride a hypercoaster anyway. Once dispatched, you ascend a cable lift hill, and I'm really surprised Intamin made this choice. It didn't have the towering height of Millennium Force, and it also doesn't have the same speed of a cable lift on something like a Megalight or Skyrush. This one is also set up differently. The catch car doesn't engage the train in the station. Instead, the train is pushed onto the catch car, which is waiting for it on the incline. Once at the top, you are sent over the 70-degree first drop. Those in the back get some great ejector airtime. It just doesn't last too long. Unlike some mini hypers whose drops feel similar to their larger counterparts, Goliath's first drop felt noticeably short. Next is one of those classic Intamin camelbacks with powerful and sustained ejector airtime. It is the best moment on the ride by far. I always love when Intamin has hills like this. Goliath then speeds around a low-to-the-ground right-hand turn. This reminds me of the turn after the drop on Ride of Steel. You have so much speed and come mere feet from the grass. Next is the world's first Stangle Dive, which is an element combining a camelback and overbank into one. Don't expect to get much airtime here. You only get a little floater in the back. This element is more about the laterals and whip. These forces are solid towards the back, but excellent towards the front. This is the one element I definitely prefer up front. Goliath then charges around another low turn. This one has some good positive Gs as you turn 270 degrees towards the water. You then cruise over this large S-hill. Unfortunately, this element is a dud. It seems a bit too big and drawn out for its own good, as it has no airtime nor laterals. It leads into a 360 degree upwards helix. I like the visuals above the water and also as you dodge supports. And you have pretty good speed too, but it's just not all that forceful. This leads into another S-hill. This one is marginally better if you're in the back, as you'll get some very weak negative Gs, but it's another fairly tame element. Goliath thankfully returns to form with its finale. You have 3 consecutive bunny hills running alongside the lift hill and station. All 3 deliver great ejector airtime if you're in the back row. In the front, the airtime progressively weakens from good sustained ejector on the first one, decent ejector on the second, and good floater on the third. You then have another low turn that leads into the final brake run. I wasn't expecting too much from this turn, but it has some shockingly strong positive Gs and a great sense of speed because you whiz past bushes. You then hit the brakes, ending the 3,983 foot or 1,214 meter long coaster. Even after 2 decades of operation, this ride is still running smoothly, and it feels quite fast start to finish, even if some of the elements towards the middle don't quite stick. As I mentioned at the start, this coaster reminds me of Ride of Steel. Why is that? First, you have the exact same ride model and nearly identical trains. Second, both coasters have a layout that runs outside the main park next to the road, and then chunks of the ride take place over the water. Third, the layout and pacing, for better or worse, are similar. They're uneven. Both rides have strong starts and finishes, but the middle sections don't quite measure up to the rest of the ride. You depart from the airtime, and while it is cool having the S-hills and helixes over the water, they just didn't pack the punch I expected. So what would I rate Goliath? I would give this mega coaster an 8 out of 10. This is a great coaster. It's not quite as good as the top tier Intamin hypers or even some of the B&M hypers, but it does have its standout moments. I love the outward leg and returning bunny hills, and the ride has a great sense of speed because of its location. I just wish the pacing was stronger towards the middle of the ride. That's my biggest issue with the coaster, but it's still an attraction any Intamin fan will love. While Untamed supplanted this ride as the best ride at Walibi Holland, Goliath is still an attraction you want to experience multiple times at this park. So those are my thoughts on Goliath at Walibi Holland. What are your thoughts on this Intamin mega coaster? How do you think it compares to some of the other hypers out there? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.